That night, everything changed. What was supposed to be business turned into betrayal, passion, and shame. And in the end, the man I once called my protector became a broken shadow of himself. This is the story of how one choice destroyed us both. Don't judge me if you're watching me, but pay attention and hear me out. Welcome back here and subscribe for more stories. When I first married Ken, I believed I was walking into a dream. We were in Los Angeles, a city that thrived on ambition and success, and Ken embodied both. He had big dreams, sharp suits, and a determination that could cut glass. I thought he was the man who would protect me, love me, and build a life with me. But dreams have a way of turning into nightmares when ambition takes the wheel. It started with a business contract. A deal worth millions, one that would cement Ken's place among the powerful men of the city. He came home one evening, his eyes gleaming with that familiar hunger, and told me the condition. Jorge Mendez, he said, pacing the living room, is willing to sign the papers. But he wants something in return. One night with you. No strings, no feelings, just business. I thought I misheard him. My heart dropped to my stomach and I whispered, Ken, how can you even suggest that? His voice was cold, calculated. It's only one night, Joanna. Think of what we'll gain. Think of the future. But what future could be built on such betrayal? I felt like an object, a bargaining chip in his relentless climb to wealth. Yet, under his pressure and out of fear of losing him, I agreed. My body went numb as I told myself it would be just one night. That night, I met Jorge. I expected arrogance, perhaps cruelty. But what I found was something else entirely. He was handsome, magnetic, and when he spoke to me, he looked into my eyes as if I mattered. For the first time in years, I felt seen. The plan was simple. One night, the papers signed, and we'd go our separate ways. But when he touched my hand, when he smiled at me with that mixture of charm and tenderness, I knew something irreversible had begun. The contract was signed the next morning, and Ken celebrated his victory. He saw millions in his bank account. But what he didn't see was that his wife's heart had been stolen. That night should have ended everything. But instead, it began the affair that would destroy us all. I tried to resist Jorge. I told myself it was wrong, that I had betrayed my vows once and must never do it again. But the truth is, I couldn't stay away. Every time he called, my heart leapt. Every time we met, I felt alive in a way I never did with Ken. It wasn't just the passion. It was the way Jorge listened to me, asked about my dreams, made me feel like I was more than just someone's wife. With him, I wasn't Joanna the bargaining chip. I was Joanna, a woman worthy of love. We met in secret, quiet restaurants, hidden hotels, stolen afternoons. What began as a bargain turned into something I could no longer control. Ken, meanwhile, was blinded by success. He wore his new wealth like a crown, oblivious to the distance growing between us. I cooked dinners, smiled at his business parties, played the role of dutiful wife, but my heart was elsewhere. It didn't take long for Ken to notice. The coldness in my voice. The laughter I no longer shared with him. The way I dressed carefully even when running errands. He wasn't a fool, and suspicion began to gnaw at him. One evening, he asked me, "Are you happy, Joanna?" I froze. My mind screamed to confess, to pour out the truth and beg for forgiveness. But instead, I lied. Of course I am. I'm just tired. But he wasn't convinced. The truth revealed itself one afternoon when he came home unexpectedly. I was on the phone, whispering words I thought were safe. "I miss you. I'll see you soon." When I turned and saw Ken standing there, his face pale, his eyes hollow, I knew everything was over. I had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. And the man I betrayed was finally awake to the reality he had created. From that day, our home was no longer a home. It was a prison of silence, suspicion, and unspoken pain. Ken sank into himself, drowning in depression. The man who once carried ambition like a torch now carried shame like a chain. He couldn't forgive me, but he also couldn't forgive himself. After all, He had been the one who pushed me into Jorge's arms. He had sacrificed his wife on the altar of success, and now he was left with nothing but ashes. I tried to explain, to remind him that it was his idea, his deal, his hunger that had started it all. But even as I spoke, I knew the truth. I was no longer innocent. I had chosen to stay with Jorge. I had chosen to fall in love when I should have walked away. Ken stopped attending his business meetings. His empire began to crumble as depression swallowed him whole. He spent nights staring at the ceiling, days wandering aimlessly through the city. He had gained millions, but lost his soul. And me? The shame became unbearable. I couldn't live under the same roof, carrying the weight of what I had done. One morning, I packed my bags and walked out. Not for Jorge, not for freedom, but because the silence between us had grown too heavy to bear. Ken ended up alone, a man who had once reached for the stars, but fell into misery because he traded love for ambition. And I left with the scars of a love that was never meant to be. The deal that promised wealth destroyed everything we had. And in the end, both Ken and I paid the price.